A long time ago in the year 2012, the Star Wars franchise was bought by Disney. Like many people, I was excited at the prospect of Lucasfilm having the backing of a larger company to produce more projects. However, in 2013, LucasArts, the developer of Lucas-related games up to this point, was closed down. Then in the following year, the expanded universe was deemed to no longer be canon, with the excuse being that they wanted to make a more streamlined canon. This decision at first might sound reasonable to an extent, but they'd quickly fail to keep the continuity between novels, comics, and films, often contradicting each other. Now at this time, I was still foolish enough to believe there was a plan, because surely they wouldn't take the largest multimedia franchise of all time and not create a complete outline of where they would take the story. And in 2015, we would receive the first film in the Disney era, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And I'll admit, when I first saw it in theaters, I enjoyed the film. All the potential story beats that were hinted at for future films in the new trilogy, and it was fun to see all the theories of what could happen. But then a couple years later, all of that was gone with the release of the next film, The Last Jedi. After watching Episode 8, I left the theater with feelings I couldn't quite explain. Later, watching video essayists that came out at this time, they were able to put all my issues into words I couldn't find. Then released Episode 9, and the lack of a concrete plan for the trilogy was completely cemented. And from here, Disney only continued to fumble the franchise, with me finally giving up after the Obi-Wan series, which honestly was longer than I should have stuck around for. But with The Force Awakens turning 10 years old, I decided to rewatch it for the first time in 8 or 9 years, and with hindsight, you notice the entire trilogy was built on a foundation of sand. J.J. Abrams made a poorer version of A New Hope, with mystery boxes galore and no world building. You have no idea what the state of the galaxy is, or why there's a resistance going against the First Order, which isn't explained either, instead of the New Republic fighting them. Instead, choosing to destroy the Republic with a planet turned to Death Star. Your protagonist Rey is bland and overpowered with no explanation. Finn from the trailers was set up to be more of a character than he was, a stormtrooper that defected and appeared to be set to become a Jedi, but he was quickly turned into a joke in the following films. Also, how quickly he went from being shocked at seeing one of his comrades dying in front of him to killing other stormtroopers while joking was jarring. Poe's character didn't exist, so there's no real point of talking about him. Kylo Ren was given a great introduction, but ended up being defanged by the ending after losing his duel to Rey, which he really shouldn't have. On a rewatch with seeing the whole trilogy, you realize the only reason people say he's the most developed character is because of Adam Driver's acting. The character of Kylo Ren is inconsistent, being a different person in each film. I also believe he might be the first instance of Disney bastardizing the expanded universe and the character of Jason Solo. But the biggest failing of The Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy in general was their treatment of the original characters, and the fact that they didn't get the main trio back together for a single scene. Han Solo was set back to the character he was in his introduction back in A New Hope, except he doesn't have the intelligence or charm he once did. Then he's killed by his son Kylo Ren, dying a deadbeat father that abandoned his family and friends, which was only an appetizer of how legacy characters would be treated going forward. And the last thing I wanted to talk about from The Force Awakens is the final duel. I have to say this is probably my favorite from the sequel trilogy. Nowhere near as good as the prequels, but I still found it enjoyable. Until the end, of course, when Rey suddenly becomes better with a lightsaber and defeats Kylo Ren because she closes her eyes. She should have lost here, and the planet breaking saves her lives instead of the other way around, but Rey wasn't allowed to lose any of the films, which makes her boring. Now, after completing a rewatch and looking back, it's clear The Force Awakens wasn't the first domino in the destruction of Star Wars. The closing of LucasArts and making the expanded universe no longer canon were the actual start of the fall. The EU is what built Lucasfilm into the company it was at the time of its purchase, keeping Star Wars alive for 16 years between Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace, only to have all these beloved stories and characters erased for less talented people to cherry pick what they wanted and completely ruin and bastardize characters, turn them into things they never were. So to everyone that said wait 10 years for the sequels to be more appreciated, that's not the case. In fact, I'd argue that over the last decade, the reception of the films like The Force Awakens has only gotten worse, as Star Wars' reputation has also gone down. But that's all I've got. See you later.
I hope you sleep well. I hope you had fun. I thank you for being here, Emperor. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your crimson and mysterious hope.